everyone. Welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Thanks for sticking around for the News and Politics Hour here on Wednesday. Been a busy day, and perhaps no one's had a busier day than BENRUS CEO Giovanni Feroce, who is around the corner. I appreciate your time, taking the time to come in.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing okay, thank you.
So we have a opinion piece that was penned by you about kind of everything that's shaken down, not just recent weeks, but we know today, the recent events of the sale of the mansion in Newport. Your views on decision making and the cost of capital. Talk with us about why you put the pen to the paper and that you really wanted folks to know both of these items.
Well, first I always appreciate, having a forum to kind of explain things because, those of us that get educated on a particular topic or have experiences in life, you don't get to see, all of it play out. You just see bits and pieces. So, what's really lacking in understanding is what the cost of capital is. So, having had the good fortune of being an alumnus of the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the things they teach you is the cost of capital. And so the cheapest cost of capital is to use your own money. So the best way to give you an example, if I could, is, oftentimes people go on Shark Tank or these shows and they give up equity. Mm-hmm. Well, let's say I'm out to set out to build $1 billion company. Well, I give up 20% of the company back at a $20 million valuation. Okay, so you give me money and I give you 20% of my company. And then I grow that, and guess what? That 20% is worth $200 million.
I've still got that 20%.
So, and you only gave me millions for it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the way it works. When I needed cash, I used my own cash. I had it in an asset. And the only thing that ever bothered me, whenever I get kind of, hit, so to speak, in the press, is the lack of information, the lack of saying, well, wait a minute, he paid for this cash and he's borrowing his own money. I didn't borrow anybody else's money. I didn't go in and put 10% down on a home or 20% down and then, lost the home or whatever. It's my own money. I paid for it cash, and then I borrowed, and through 3 significant moves, one was $1.3 million, which I sold a lot. Then I borrowed 1.3, and then I borrowed $4 million. I took out basically the amount of money that I paid for to ensure that I was liquid, and I used that cash in the business.
Are you surprised at the level of attention paid to you in the business?
I am, but only to a certain degree. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's educational, as long as people, hear it out. The only kind of negative things that I ever see is really comments or little blurbs by people who likely have never met me. More importantly, are not being sophisticated in their analysis. It's, instead of saying, why is he doing this? Why would he do this? And some of it could be as straightforward as what I said earlier, the cost of capital and understanding that. And the second thing is, and I know not everybody's like this, but you know what? All I need is a bottle of water to survive. So my tolerance level is really high. And I think people have co-opted the word entrepreneur. They've kind of misused it for small business terms. They're not entrepreneurial. They're not risking everything. I call people up on a daily basis. I'm like, hey, listen, I need $500,000. I need 250. I need $1 million. And they're like, well, I'm doing this. I gotta go here. And at the end of the day, it's funny because if I ever do decide to go into politics, I think when I call them up for a couple of thousand, they'll be like, here, it's 4.
You're like, that's nothing compared to what I've had to get on the phone for before.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's interesting, but yes, it does seem to be a disproportionate amount of attention given by a particular individual in the state, and I just wish they gave more information out and put it in context. It's lacking context, and you know what? Since I'm on here, I'm just going to say it. There was a protest in front of the Journal the other day, and I think it was because there were only 16 reporters. They were down to 16 reporters. And one has to ask yourself, does it make sense that a police beat reporter is writing on business against someone who built $1 billion company, who's a graduate of the advanced management program at the Wharton School of Business, who has proven himself both in being a former state senator or spending 24 years in the military or any other thing that you can bring up, from growing up in the streets of West Warwick in the playground up to being fortunate enough to go to URI and so forth. What does that individual possibly bring to the table in the context of a conversation? It's impossible. And you know what? I cannot wait to challenge that person someday. I'm going to hold a symposium, and they better be ready for me. Better be studying every day.
So one of the things you pointed out, that in the press, that there was a misleading report and false report of you being bankrupt. And so they said that this was by lieu of some erroneous court documents, and I point here because the courthouse is that way.
Right.
How detrimental was this to you in the process of everything moving forward?
It was a killer. Right at the time, I had raised, I had identified funds to raise and inject in the business. We were ready to take off, and they went ahead and reported that I was in receivership. And my attorney's like, "Did you see this?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" Because I had just, frankly, I didn't bother really reading the article because I just didn't want to get pissed off. It was New Year's Eve. So I'm like, I'm not going to bother. But I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, what did they write? And we reacted right away, and then they blamed it on the court system in the state. Then one has to ask, because people have brought up the fact that I should potentially consider running for governor, or if I'm looking at it, it's kind of convenient that the state all of a sudden made this mistake, and I became this target. And then instead of correcting it in a really formal way and really just a good way, they say, "Oh no, we corrected it." But who's going to go back and read an online article
if they've already read it once before?
So it's kind of really just odd behavior. But it's like anything in life, you learn from things. And one thing I can say today is that there must be a reason here. In other words, I've let's face it, I'm basically 50 years old. I've had this cleansing that I thank God for every day. You know who your real friends are. You know who your real business associates are. You know who your real lenders are. You know who what intelligent people break down. Just coming here today, I cannot tell you the amount of people that have sent me messages, and people that I don't know well and some that I do, who are just offering support. And I guess I don't have to pay for dinner for the next few weeks. Everybody's asking me to go to lunch and dinner, and that's phenomenal. But it's just I suggest not maybe the way I'm doing it. I don't know if that's an opportunity or not, but you probably should look at who really is around you and how strong is your network. But I love it because you know what? You're emptying all your chamber, and you better be ready for when I load mine. So there we're going to go.
So that's my question. Today kind of is a chapter of your career. What's next? I mean, you've again mentioned politics, but here we are, end of September. What are the next steps?
No, it's all business right now. Everything's business focused. I go to political events. I make sure I'm informed because I believe in the saying, preparation key to victory. If I choose to take that step someday, where was I in 2017? What was I doing? Did I go to the cookout? Did I meet so-and-so and hear about an issue of lack of a regional senior center? Did I understand things that were important, and was I following them? So yes, I add all of that in. But as I wrote today, there are different courses of action, different things you wake up to every day, different important decisions you make. And today, the important decision I had to make was to focus on business. And that's where I am, and that's my priority right now. And will that shift? The likelihood is it can, but certain things have to happen. And I'm just not there yet, but I will always be prepared, and I'll always shadow the process. And at the right time, I just hope, especially for people who don't know me, I hope you don't think I'm some rich guy that just did whatever. I'm some guy from West Warwick, Rhode Island, okay, who worked at Jerry's Supermarket and had 2 paper routes. Unfortunately for the Providence Journal-Bulletin, because I would have been in the picket line today, saying, when you're holding that sign, by the way, I saw one that said good journalism, good pay. How about bad journalism? What do you get for that? Okay, it should be deducted, because I'll tell you what, it's not right, and there should be a front page correction on what you did to a private citizen in the state of Rhode Island. It was a takedown, and you know what, it'll be a case study, and I'll have it as a symposium, and I will talk to everybody about it. But I don't focus on it because I focus on work, and I focus on executing with discipline. I really am looking forward to showing what the end results are.
Well, wanted you in, again, the big headline today about the sale of the mansion.
Sure.
Folks wanting to get kind of the take from you here in the studio, so I appreciate your coming in and talk with us. We'll continue to talk, and if there's anything else you want to add while you're in here.
No, I just, I always, I wanted to, well, I would just add that the people that reach out to me, those that, say that I inspire them and they monitor how I do things, just keep the faith, because remember, it's all about the objective. What's your main objective? You work backwards from that, you plan backwards, and on your way there, you should expect to get hit. Trust me, I was, 5 minutes late here? Because if you look at the streets of Providence, okay, I'm trying not to bottom out, okay? So just, I'm going left and right to try, just make sure I make it here.
They're doing a lot of road work outside, that's for sure.
But
I
anyway,
appreciate you making it here
it.
to talk with folks, as you said.
Thank you so
Focusing on the
much
business,
for
we will
having
talk
me.
soon, okay?
Thank you.
Giovanni
Take
Feroce,
care.
we'll let you around the corner.
Have a good day.
We'll wrap up the
Take
show
care.
here. Thanks, Gio.
Bye now.
Giovanni Feroce, CEO of BENRUS, wanted him in today. Again, the make sale of his mansion in Newport, what his next steps are, his reaction to folks who have taken a myriad of positions on him, again, as CEO of BENRUS, and what he's been through. We're going to be, I'm sure, talking with Gio moving forward, but had the opportunity to have him in here into studio to tell you the story right here at the Navigant Credit Union.